Hey, welcome back to the Brothers-in-law, everyone. And on this channel, we discuss police-involved incidents that occur around the country, and we give our analysis on the actions of those police officers to see if their actions are what a reasonable officer would do. We also look at the actions of the citizens to see if they have followed our acronym of CALM, which stands for comply, answer questions, listen, and move on, would their situation had turned out differently. Now, you may agree or disagree with us, but it is our hope by the end of the video you get a better understanding of how these incidents unfold. So if you're new to our channel, I was a former Virginia State police officer for 7 years and I'm a retired Navy Chief Petty Officer, 21 years of service. And Mike Bradley.
Good to be back. I'm co-host Mike Bradley. I'm retired Northern California police officer for 26 years. And I'm also a 6-year Army veteran. And we got a good show lined up for you. This incident picked up some traction real quick, didn't it, Corey?
Oh, yeah, man, most definitely. But as usual, before we get into this video tonight, y'all, please go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button for us. Every time you hit that like button for us, it gives the algorithm to go ahead to put this video on other timelines throughout the country, throughout the world. So hit that like button for us and share this out to each and every one out here, all your friends and family. Also, and I just froze up. Did I freeze up?
Yeah, just for a minute.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right. Head on over to our shop and pick up a Brothers-in-law t-shirt. I'm about to throw the link up on here. My computer act right real quick. Let's see. I don't know why it's not acting right tonight.
Hey, Scott, I see you. Scott, I see you, GOAT. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. So head on over to the merch shop, the Brothers-in-law, .myspreadshop.com, and pick up a Brothers-in-law t-shirt. I got a different one on. My grandson said, "Hey, Papa, why you always got blue and black?" I said, "Well, all right, well, I throw a different color out there." So I got a red one, white letter, and it says comply, answer questions, listen and move on, stay calm, the acronym. So yeah, head on over and help support our channel so we can get out there on more platforms out there and spread our messages, staying calm and how to interact with law enforcement. So yeah, tonight's video, definitely heartbreaking again. And, we got to talk about it. Right, Mike? We got to talk about it.
Hey, Stacy, I see you on here, Stacy. I didn't see you for a sec. I see you now. Yeah, we got to talk about it. I mean, it's happening in our what should we say, our birth state.
yeah. Definitely occurred back home in Ohio, where Mike and I are from.
Yeah. Well, we'll let the video speak for itself, I guess. Everybody know what we're talking about. The young lady who happened to have been pregnant was stopped. Well, police tried to stop her while she's in a parking lot of Walmart or some kind of
Kroger's.
She was in the parking lot of some store, and she ends up getting shot.
So she allegedly was suspected in shoplifting. An employee followed her out the car or out the store and flagged down the officer who was already there in the parking lot assisting another citizen. And then, we'll pick it up there. I got two good videos. One is just showing the video. It's about 3 minutes and 9 seconds, just showing you what happened. And then the second one is another gentleman breaking it down and telling you what each one is doing. And then it kind of sheds different light on it, so you see it from a different perspective. And then of course we'll give our analysis on it and what we think happened, what we have done, Mike and I had done had we been there on a call like this. So chime in, hit us up with your questions, make your comments down there below. Again, hit that like, share, and subscribe button for us, and we're gonna go ahead and get into this again. So this first one is just playing the video straight out. Should not be any commercials in this one. I hope not. And get it played up for you. And here we go. And it is graphic, so there's your warning. All right, and here we go.
Attend to 29-3705 Managua, 3705. A female is hallucinating. What to go out for attend?
So this is Officer 1, I think, and he's assisting another one. He just got flagged down by the employee.
Out of the car.
7 back in service, 1828.
Get out of the car. Then get out. No, then get out.
Get out of the car.
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 Two shots fired.
Shots fired. Stop the car. Stop the car.
We're going to have a 44 on.
I think his audio just went out real quick.
Yeah.
So I think this is the second one is showing his in slow motion. You can see him putting his hand on the car and he's getting ready to fire his shot right there. So that was body cam number, or this is body cam number 2.
Attend to 29-3705 Managua, 3705.
What's that?
Female is hallucinating. What to go out for attend?
Hey, stop. Hey, out of the car. 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 They said you stole stuff. Do not leave. Get out of the car. Then get out. No. Then get out. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Shots fired. Stop the car. Stop the car.
We're going to have 44 on. Well, he's going to be at.
There it is.
Oh, I'm sorry. And now they're showing it in slow motion now. Which there's no audio to this. So it looked like he was using his pocket knife or something to try to break that window, right, Mike?
Yeah,
Now-
unsuccessfully break that window at that time anyway. At that moment.
He's driving off. And that's yeah. And that's where he made contact with her. Now, let me get back over here. Take that one out.
Now we're gonna show
And
you
so
a video of it's the same video, but it's of a gentleman that's actually giving his analysis of what happened, and I'll let the video explain itself. It is pretty much, I know everybody has seen this and guarantee we're gonna talk about it and give our opinion on it. But this is the second video where you have someone who is going to analyze what happened. Here we go.
Yeah, Scott, is a good old lockout. Yeah, we didn't do this anymore. We just called a tow truck. We didn't carry those.
Yeah, we didn't either.
Anymore.
We same thing. We didn't do that. We didn't break into people's cars. We didn't assist them with lockouts or anything like that. You had to call AAA for that.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
I'm Russ Martin, former Delaware County Sheriff and Chief of Police for the city of Delaware. I worked in law enforcement for more than 40 years before recently retiring. I have no connection to the Blendon Township Police Department, but they asked me to provide and review some context that might be helpful to the general public about the body-worn camera video from the tragic officer-involved shooting that recently happened. I want to be clear. I won't be making any conclusions about whether what the officer did was right or wrong. That's the job of other agencies. I'll simply offer analysis similar to what any investigator might look at when reviewing body-worn camera video of a use of force incident. Let's take a look at the video. Police Officer 1 was already in the front of the Kroger parking lot after a citizen called and asked for help after locking herself out of her car. This is a common call for police. We can see that he's using tools police carry in their car to try to open the locked car door. Police Officer 2, who had just finished with a nearby car accident, is on the scene and also tries to help unlock the citizen's car. As Officer number 2 is working, a Kroger employee approaches him from behind and points to a woman getting into her car. The Kroger employee tells Officer 2 that the woman getting into the black Lexus has just stolen things from the store. Police officers routinely may be focused on one task in a public setting, then, when abruptly interrupted, must then redirect focus to a more pressing matter. Officer number 2 quickly approaches the Lexus and attempts to talk to the suspect. He repeatedly tells her to stop and get out of the running car. It's well within the legal authority of police to temporarily stop and detain anyone believed to be part of a potential crime. Officer 1 appears to notice what his colleague is doing and walks over to assist. As Officer 2 continues to loudly tell the driver to get out of the car, Officer 1 walks past him briskly and moves around to the front of the car. Police officers are generally at greater risk either directly in front of or behind a car for obvious reasons. Drivers can drive forward or backward into the officers when they're in that most vulnerable position. Generally, police training teaches that when two officers have approached a car on foot or intend to interview a suspect on the street, they will take a position that gives them the best advantage for observing what the suspect is doing. In police parlance, this is simply referred to as contact and cover. One officer is attempting to contact the person to be interviewed, while the assisting officer is providing cover or oversight of the scene. Officers are trained that one of the most dangerous encounters they face on the job involves a driver seated in a car. It's dangerous because there are many places in a car where a weapon can be hidden and the driver's hands are often out of view. While this suspect didn't have a weapon, the officers didn't know that at the time. 19 seconds into the encounter, the suspect rolls her window down a few inches and asks why she's being stopped. Officer 2 tells her that a Kroger employee has accused her of stealing. Citizens can ask why they are being detained or ordered to comply, and, in most cases, when there's time and no urgent circumstances, the officer should provide an answer, as Officer 2 does. Ohio law requires everyone to comply with the lawful order of a police officer. Although she's been ordered to get out of the running car many times by now, the driver starts to turn the steering wheel to the right as Officer 1 is directly in front of the car, in a clearly vulnerable position. Officer number 1 draws his firearm and again loudly orders the woman to stop the car. Police officers are trained to draw their firearms when threatened with deadly force, which can be from a gun, a knife, or a vehicle. In the next second, the driver steps on the gas and the car moves forward. When you look at side-by-side footage from both officers' body cameras, you can see that the suspect's car pushes Officer 1 backwards several feet. It's clear from the video that the car makes contact with the officer. In the next second, you can see that both of Officer 1's feet are off the ground. At this moment, Officer 1 fires a single shot through the windshield. Officer 1 is then able to slide off the hood of the moving car as it rolls towards the building. Officers run to keep up with the moving car, and from the video, it doesn't appear that the officers would have the driver. When the car stops, they act quickly to get the driver out of the car, which is what they are often trained to do. I was asked only to make observations to what I saw from the officer's body-worn camera video from this brief encounter. While we have the benefit of slow motion after the fact, it's important to remember that police officers have to make these difficult decisions in a split second, often in the middle of a highly stressful and very dangerous situation.
All right, Mike. All right, y'all. Let's hear it. Let's get into it. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
I had it on mute thinking my dog would bark.
Oh.
Okay. A lot to talk about here, a lot to unpack here. I mean, now, first off, our officers haven't, when a citizen comes up to them and says, hey, that person just stole from us, accusing someone of a crime, then we have an obligation to stop that person that they are pointing to investigate what happened. And that's what happened in the beginning of this video. Right or wrong, whether she stole something or not, she was accused by the store people that she stole something. Okay. So the officer has to investigate that. To investigate that, she has to stop. She can't just leave. So they clearly did that, right, Corey? They clearly stopped her. They clearly made it clear that she cannot leave. She cannot drive away. These are very common calls where you have a group of people that run into a store, steal some alcohol, okay, and they get into a vehicle that, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this vehicle she was in didn't have a license plate on it.
Didn't have a license plate, and she was parked in a handicapped spot.
Right. That's common stuff for thieves who try to go in and steal stuff. Okay, they use a car that you don't have a license plate, so no one can grab a license plate, or they use a rental car where the rental car doesn't come back to the suspect, and they park in a position of advantage so that when they can leave and flee the scene, they can quickly jump into that vehicle and drive away. This time, there was an officer that happened to be right there by her car when she got into the car. You know what I'm saying? So these officers up to this point did nothing wrong. They did what they were supposed to do. Stop her, try to get her to stop. Obviously, as a citizen, you are required to stop when an officer is detaining you. Okay? They even explained to her why she was being detained. Right? So there's no question that they have a legal right to stop her, and there's no question of her obligation to stop. She's supposed to stop and stay.
And to get her to get out of the vehicle.
And to get her to get out of the vehicle. When you're detained, you're at the control of that officer, and you need to follow instructions and do what they're supposed to do. By her putting up such an argument, okay, it kind of points to guilt, because she knew why they were stopping her.
Oh, okay? She knew. She knew.
There's no question that she knew why they were stopping her. You know what I'm saying? Now, here's what I have a problem with on the police side. Now, I gave you the problems up to this point from the citizen. What she did wrong was not stopping. Now, here's the problem I have on the police side, Corey. I understand contact and cover. Yes, that's true. We train when we go on vehicle stops, for example. There's a contact officer and a cover officer. Now, the way we've trained is the cover officer takes a position of advantage that they can clearly see inside the vehicle. That's either on the passenger side, on the driver's side, some along those lines. We never train to stand in front of the vehicle for obvious reasons. If they accelerate, the officer can get run over. So we never train to do that. Okay. Right. If your position of advantage, the best you can get is the passenger side or the driver's side, well, so be it. We don't train to jump on top of a car. We don't train to jump in front of a car. Okay. So I have a big problem with this officer voluntarily jumping in front of that car, Corey, okay, to stop. Now, do I understand why he did it? Yeah, I understand why he did it. He did it because in his mind, he's thinking, okay, if I stand in front of this car, directly in front of this car, this suspect is less likely to accelerate and run me over. Well, he was wrong. He was wrong. So that's why you don't stand in front of a car, folks. But in this situation, he did. He put himself in front of that car. Now, here's where the question is going to come down, Corey. will a court say, I don't know what their department policy is as far as standing in front of cars, but a court is going to come down to, did this officer voluntarily put himself in a position where his life was threatened, okay, and then use deadly force because of the position?
Well, according to their policy, part of it states that in the event that they're approaching a moving vehicle or moving vehicles coming towards them, they are to move out of the way. However, the difference is this car was already parked and stopped. Right? Basically, with that saying, hey, don't go, if the car is coming at you, don't go stand in front of it and try to, shoot at it. But this is different. And I say, I'm with you on it, Mike. I think, no, I would not have stood in front of the car for that exact reason. I don't want to get hit. But at the same time, I understand why he did it as a tactical advantage, not letting her drive off, thinking that, hey, I'm trying to stop her from driving off. Also, too, we got to take into consideration, too, or here's the question: can a car be used as a weapon?
Sure. Absolutely.
And so then can you reasonably say that that's the reason why he had his weapon drawn? Because at this point, he's, afraid that, okay, if she comes at me, then I'm going to be ready and have to discharge a round off. All right. Again, I understand the tactical aspect that he might have been doing, trying to deter her from wanting to leave, but at the same time, did it even have to get to this point, Mike? And no longer is this about, oh, she got shot and killed because she was shoplifting. No, that's not why. She got shot because she tried to hit the officer. And as you clearly saw in the video, she did make contact with him, enough contact to cause both his feet to come up off the ground.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, since you said that, have your gun out, I heard that. I
agree,
question.
Scott. Scott said, yeah, it's easy to understand getting in front of car, but not easy to condone it at the same time. 100%.
Yeah,
Scott.
yeah, 100%. I understand that, definitely. I heard the question of, well, why did the guns come out in the first place? Well, if you break it down, at that moment in time in the video, the guns came out because he was standing in front of her car. He knew that that tells me that the officer suspected that she might try to run him over. So he, like you said, Corey, he had his gun out just in case he was ready, in case she decided to accelerate and run him over. Now, in my opinion, was it smart or was it tactically sound to be in front of her car? Absolutely not. I don't think so. Not me. Me personally, both Corey and I would not have stood in front of her car. And there's no question about that. You know what I'm saying? If she take off on us, well, either we get into a pursuit or we don't. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to put myself in harm's way that way, okay, by directly standing in front of someone's car where I know that there's a possibility that she can accelerate and run me over, okay? She did accelerate and she did hit this officer as he was standing there. And here's the other side of this, Corey. People will say, well, she didn't deserve to lose her life because she was shoplifting. Again, like you said a minute ago, she didn't get shot because she was shoplifting. We need to make that clearly understood. She got shot because she tried to run an officer over. Okay, let's not forget that. Whether that officer should have been in front of that car at that moment or not, he was in front of that car. And she clearly did not care that that officer was standing directly in front of her car. Okay?
Right.
She was trying to accelerate and did not care if she ran that officer over. Now, would a reasonable person think that if I accelerate with this officer standing in front of my car, am I going to hit this officer? Yeah, a reasonable citizen would think that, yeah, if I accelerate, I'm going to hit this officer. Well, clearly that's what she did, and I believe that's clearly what she was intending to do. Now, that might be the only thing that could save this officer, because she intended to run him over, period.
Right, because she didn't want to get caught. She didn't want to get caught. Well, like you said early in the beginning, Mike, she was already dirty. You showing up to this parking lot, this grocery store in a car that's has no license plates in it. You're parked in a handicap. You're not handicapped. There's no handicap placard in the rear view mirror hanging. So clearly you don't have any regard for the rule of law. Anyway,
yeah, that's right. I agree.
And then you go in and you allegedly commit an offense. Then you get followed out the store and you get approached and you don't want. Now, again, I'm always going to throw this out because this is what burns me up when we had these incidents. It never had to go this way. And this is why I come up with the acronym in my calm: comply, answer questions, listen, and move on. You have to understand and know when this is over. You don't want to put yourself in this position to end up putting the officer into a very bad situation where he or she has to make a decision now whether or not they have to shoot or not. Now, you put these officers in that. All you had to do was just get out the dang on car. And if she did have items, okay, so what? It's petty larceny, and the way the laws are now, she would have went to jail, got a bond, and been back home. She made that conscious decision to try to run to hit that officer, because like you said, would a reasonable citizen had done that? Somebody that understands and knows right from wrong. No, I can't hit this officer in front of me. I'm caught. A reasonable person would have just complied and not hit the officer. So now you revving up the car, you moving the steering wheel as you trying to position yourself to get the car out of there. This is why she got shot. And I'm sorry they had to say that, but that's just the real of it.
I agree. I'm not going to argue that point. Go. I understand what you're saying. Something like this happened in Arkansas. It was a stolen car. The cop steps in front of the car and shot the driver. He went to jail for stepping in front of the car. That's what I was telling you about. What that was the comments I was making a little bit ago, Goat, is that I wonder how this is going to go down, because I think it's safe to say
the difference is I think the difference is when the car is actually in motion and you step in front of it and try to shoot, versus you're at a standstill, right? I mean, it's like me standing in front of you, stopping you from trying to run, run away from me. But then yet you push me out the way and run, and then all right, hey, now you threaten me or whatever, and you hit me with something, and then I shoot you. That's probably not a good analogy, but I think the difference is you have a vehicle in motion versus not in motion yet. And that's probably why he stood there. Now, again, you can, we had the leisure Monday morning quarterback in this, but in real time. Now, the question is, what other alternatives did they have besides to shoot? I mean, well, she wasn't getting out the car. So what else do you guys think, to our viewers, what else do you think the officer could have done to get her out the vehicle? Because she wasn't getting out. Now, I'll tell you what I do, but I want to hear from our viewers for what I've had done to get people out of the vehicle that didn't want to get out when I asked them to get out of the vehicle. I'm a nice guy, but I'm not going to sit here and ask you more than a certain amount of times. If not, you're coming out that window. Now, granted, she's pregnant and everything too, so you got to keep that in consideration as well.
Assuming the officers knew she was pregnant at that time.
Assuming they did.
Right. We don't. They keep saying that, and she was pregnant. Unfortunately, she just so happens to be pregnant. But I don't know if the officer knew that at the time. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if they do that or not.
Pregnant? Was he able to look down and see all that? That's to me, the pregnant part is something after the fact. That's neither here nor there. It's something after the fact.
Yeah, Ghost said he'd break the window and OC spray. Yeah, that could have been an alternative too.
Just a
You
girl.
could have done that.
It's a good old fashioned drag. I'm gonna have to physically drag you out.
I'm pulling you out that one. Yeah, I'm breaking that window and I'm snatching you out the car. Now, assuming I did not know you were pregnant. Now, if I knew you were pregnant, then I probably would have went definitely less lethal and try to do something, maybe flatten the tires or something so you can't drive off, or we're gonna get you out of that car. If I by now I know that you're pregnant. Again, like I said, the biggest thing is for me, I would not have stood in front of the vehicle. We didn't train that. That's not something that's trained, but I understand, Mike and I both understand why he did stand in front of the vehicle. Again, so you're gonna have to look at all their policy and what their policy says, and that's what the attorney is gonna break all that down and everything. So that's why I like that second video, this gentleman breaking it down like that. And you clearly see that she hits him hard enough to
she knocked him off his feet.
Yeah, knock him off his feet. Yeah.
Okay. If he wasn't able to fall down, if he didn't fall the right way, she would have ran him over. She would have ran him over. Okay. Yeah. So I don't want to hear excuses like, she was probably afraid of the officer, so that's why she was trying to get away from it. No, she didn't want to be caught. She knew she was probably guilty of theft or guilty of something involving that theft, and she wanted to get away. She wasn't scared of the officers. If she was that afraid of the officers, she'd have did what she was supposed to do, was told to do. But instead, she chose to accelerate and run the officer over, to get away, in an effort to get away. But you know how it goes, Corey. You got to go to court, and in court, they have to decide if what this officer did was reasonable. You know what I'm saying? Now, we are sitting here saying we understand why in his mind he would have done that. We're not saying that was reasonable, but we are only saying in his mind he was probably thinking that if I stand in front of this car, she ain't going to run me over. You know what I'm saying? She ain't going to accelerate and hit me. So I'm going to stand right here.
A person wouldn't do that.
Right. But I'm going to have my gun drawn just in case. Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem with that, Corey. Yeah, you can have your gun drawn. You might get a shot off, but she going to run you over before she succumbs to those injuries. Okay? Yeah. That's the thing about standing in front of the vehicle. Would a reasonable officer have stood directly in front of the parked car in order to not have somebody flee? I'm gonna say no, because I'm going by what I would do. Okay, as a reasonable officer, if I were in that position as the officer, I would not have stood. I would not have placed myself in that kind of danger by standing directly in front of a car that someone could run me over. You know what I'm saying? Our policy when I was an officer was, again, I told you this before, Corey, shooting at moving vehicles was strongly discouraged, not completely forbidden, but strongly discouraged, because there could be a situation where you can't move out of the way left or right that fast, and you might have to shoot somebody. You know what I'm saying? There's always some possibilities, but generally, I'm not going to, even at a parked car, Corey, even if it's a parked car, I'm not going to voluntarily stand directly in front of the car hoping that somebody doesn't accelerate and hoping somebody is a reasonable citizen.
I agree with Scott, because that's why I had questioned, like, well, why didn't one of them just bring their car and put it in front of her car? That way she wouldn't have been able to drive off. Yeah, but you got to, again, we're Monday morning quarterbackness from the leaders of our home. We're not there. We're not real time, right? We get our attention drawn somewhere else. Our natural reaction is to go to where my partner is at.
Right. Not only that, I think both those officers, once they tried to make contact with her on foot, they were already committed in the positions that they were in. So
that's what I'm saying. You're so focused in on that situation that you're in now. You're not thinking, oh, let me go get my car and put it in front. You know, hey, let me go ahead and get in front of her so she doesn't try and get away. And so could that have been his logical thing? And probably so, because I know there have been times where I would react almost similar to that, but not get in front of a vehicle. That's heck no, because what is it? Officer safety, right? Why would I put myself in a situation where I'm going to get hurt? Well, then that just dispels the whole officer safety, right? So no, I'm not going to go and stand in front of it. Nor did we even train that way, in the military. And so, no, I'm not going to do that. Now, again, I understand why he did that.
I understand what was going through his mind, probably that why he thought to do that. I understand that. You know what I'm saying? It's just that was it a smart move? No, because look what happened. She tried to run him over.
The end result. I mean, what do we normally expect? We always say, hey, all right, if they get away, they get away. We'll get them tomorrow. We'll get them the next day. Right. I mean, okay, he's got in front of it, right? He's in front of the vehicle. All right, now she's driving off. The reasonable response with that would be, if you put yourself in that position, all right, once she starts revving it up, that oh shit alert should go off in your head. Let me get my butt out the way, right? And let her leave.
Yeah. In that case, for that kind of crime, hey, like I said before, if you get into a pursuit with her because she decided to accelerate and drive out the parking lot, so be it. You know what I'm saying? If you got to call off that pursuit because it got too dangerous, so be it. We're talking about a theft of some alcohol from the store.
Yeah, okay? You're talking petty larceny, right?
Right. And like I think Goat said just a minute ago, had she got out of the car and handled it and dealt with it, and had she been arrested for petty theft, she probably would have been out within a few hours. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that'd have been it.
And the way the legal system is today, I'll be honest with you, there's no reason to run. There's no reason to run. There's no reason to fight. It shouldn't be that way anyway. But now that your justice system is so lax now with the way they're handling these certain charges and things, there's no need to run. You'll be out within 24, 48 hours. Just go ahead and go and get your bond. You ain't gonna have to put no money up, because it'll be what we call an OR bond, which is basically your own reconnaissance. You just sign your name and you go. And so that's more than likely what would have happened had she just complied, answer questions, listen, and move on. Or who knows, if they found out that she was pregnant and found out maybe she was on hard times, maybe they would have bought the stuff for her and said, hey, don't do it again.
Or maybe she would have been sight released right there on the scene and not even booked into jail. We do that. We've done that countless times, okay, depending on what the crime is, obviously. But you could write her a ticket right there on the scene. Technically, she was arrested, and you give her a ticket right there on the scene and release her right there on the scene. See you later. Bye. You know what I'm saying?
A simple misdemeanor. There's some charge you can release them on a summons. What we call the summons, and be on their way. You didn't have to go and take them down to the magistrate. But this is where we are now. She's dead and gone.
Yeah.
And you have to ask yourself, why did it have to get to this point? Why did it have to get to this point? And it should not have, right? I mean, there's blame on both sides, and unfortunately, and we're not taking nobody's side on this. because they can tell you, you know, hey, what the officer did, was that reasonable? Was that what a reasonable officer would have done? No. Because as an FTL, I didn't train. I didn't train. We even in the academy, even when they got out of academy, came to our office. No, you did not stand in front of a vehicle. No, you
At
stand
the
up.
same time, Corey, I don't want to ignore her responsibility in all this either. You know what I'm saying? She chose, first of all, whether she was stealing or not, they never really said and confirmed whether that was the case. Unfortunately, you know, it doesn't really matter now, or it does, but it doesn't because she lost her life. Okay. But she chose to allegedly shoplift. She chose to not get out of that car when she knew exactly why she was supposed to.
Yeah.
She chose to accelerate into that officer. Whether or not he should have been standing there is really beside the point. She still chose to accelerate into that uniformed officer who was clearly an officer who was clearly telling her to stop, that she can't leave. So it's safe to say that she intended on running that officer over to get away. She intended on running that officer over to get away. We can't just brush over that and ignore that fact.
And these officers were called to this situation. They were actually handling another citizen, another call for service, and they were stopped. So it's not like they sought her out to do this, to purposely do this to her, right? Yes, you do. Her decisions cost her life.
Yeah.
By putting, and also by the putting the officer in that position where he had to do that. And you know, he have on his mind that day that I'm gonna go gun a black woman down today. No, you can't say that was his mindset. Could he have done something differently? Yeah, I believe so. But in that moment, that's the action that he took. And
hey, Orlando. Hey, Jesus, love you. We see you on here coming a little late. For those who just joined us, we're talking about the shooting that happened.
Go ahead, because I just lost my thought. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. We're talking about the shooting that happened with the lady at the Kroger's in the parking lot who was in her car and was ordered to get out of her car by police for shoplifting. She refused to get out of her car. Not only did she refuse to get out of her car, she accelerated, ran the officer over, or tried to, would have run the officer over if he didn't fall the right way, and in order to escape what was going on. Okay, and the officer shot her. The officer who was in front of her car when she accelerated shot her, and she ended up dying. Yes, after the fact, she happened to be pregnant, unfortunately. So yeah, Corey, it is unfortunate that, number one, we're talking about she lost her life because of a shoplifting, and she was pregnant. Not only did she lose her life, but the baby lost their life too. You know what I'm saying? Because of the choices she made, though. Okay, we can't ignore the fact that these choices she made, which caused the officer to have to do what he did. Now, there's two sides to this, Corey. Like we said before, there's her side that I think she was wrong, and I think the officer was unreasonable for standing in front of that car, for purposely putting himself in front of that car. You know what I'm saying? The only way I might have shot into a car like that, Corey, maybe if someone was being abducted, or if my kids were in the car and they were being kidnapped and somebody was trying to drive away. I'm not going to let you drive away under any circumstance on that type of call. But on this type of call, we're talking about a shoplift. Sometimes officers get tunnel vision. They get so focused on, this is a suspect. I'm telling her to stop. She's not stopping. She's getting ready to accelerate into me. That's all that officer was thinking at that moment. And he took action to stop her from from number one, hitting him and completely running him over, okay, and to stop her from leaving. All right.
Yeah. Well, and like Jesus loved you said, he said it's sad, but you got to stop committing crimes that may cost you your life because of your stupidity. Yeah,
I agree.
You make these choices. These young folks out here making these choices. Well, what's that old saying? You live by the sword, you die by the sword. So if you go out and get out here and do dirt and commit criminal activity, well, there's consequences to those types of actions. Don't sit here, because it's hard time. We all go through hard times, but when you go out here and commit these offenses, and then you make contact with the officer, and then when the officer starts talking to you and trying to get answers from you, and then you revolt and don't comply with what they're saying to you, and then you get into a fight, or you get into try to take the officer's gun or whatever and put them in a situation. Now you putting them in putting their back up against the wall where they have to make a decision whether or not they have to use deadly force or not. When you put them in that position, hey, look, I'm not gonna let you put me in that position. I'm gonna do what I need to do to protect myself and others around.
Sure.
And again, it's unfortunate that the young lady, she was just 21 years old, and already had, I think, 2 other kids, right? It's sad, and it angers me that these situations are happening, and they don't have to happen. When are we gonna get to the point where the criminals out here, when you get caught, you have to understand, realize it's over. Now's not the time to go and fight with the police, because you made a bad decision. You made the decision to rob somebody or beat somebody up or stealing in this case, and then try to get away. This is what happens. Yes, Mom, there were 2 officers involved in this. And this one that did the shooting was what we call the cover officer, who was struck by the vehicle and fired. I think it was just one single shot into the vehicle, and struck her, I think, in the chest. And I think she died on scene, if I'm not mistaken. They did get there, and they did try to they did get her out of the car and render aid, but she succumbed to her injuries. So go ahead, Mike. You finna say
I agree. I mean, and again, lately, folks, recently we've been talking about her faults in this, because I do believe that her choices are what made this happen. But at the same time, the way things are going now, Corey, we ain't court, we ain't judges, we don't make that determination. But when it goes to court, there's probably going to be some issues with that officer voluntarily standing in front of that car like that, because like we say, we both can agree that as reasonable officers, I would not have stood in front of that car like that.
Again, it's gonna boil down to policy.
Yeah, that's true.
It's gonna boil down to policy, and it's going to be boiled down to, can he articulate his reasoning for positioning himself in front of that vehicle? Now, if he can do that, he'll probably get it. But I do agree with Delando, where he says, sadly now, there are protests demanding justice for this woman. Yeah, I mean, because nobody's really looking at it like that. They're looking at it as, hey, this is another Black person shot by the police for no reason. Well, yeah, there is a reason. One, and it's not because she was shoplifting. So that's not why she got shot. So we're going to put that out there first and foremost.
That's why she got contacted, but that's not why she was shot. You know what I'm saying? People always push that out there like that. She lost her life because of shoplifting? No, she didn't lose her life because of shoplifting. She lost her life.
Same thing when they get
she
shot.
Tried to run off her over.
Right. the initial stop was a busted taillight, but he had a gun inside the car and was going for the gun and or had drugs in the car, whatever he was trying to do, and then get shot for that. All this because of busted tail light. No, this is a convicted felon who had a weapon in the car who was trying to use that weapon to shoot at the police officer. No, it was not because of a broken tail light. Yeah, Scott. Yeah, yes, it's called the hug a thug mentality that has become a passive, pervasive, along with people not taking responsibility for the action. Is not a good combination. We see it daily. Yeah, you see it daily. And we saw it daily too, Scott.
And folks, like we always say, if the officer's in the wrong, we ain't got no problem saying that. If the citizen's in the wrong, we ain't got no problem saying that. We're really giving you an objective viewpoint on what we saw and whether we would have done it or not have done it. We calling it like we see it on both sides. Both sides, got issues. But the side of the female, I'ma still put more on her because she's the one that, number one, did all the actions that put these officers in a position for this to happen. We always teach our viewers, stay calm, comply. What's the acronym CALM? The first word is comply. Okay. You try to take off, you try to do something like that, you are just opening that door for something worse to happen. You're opening that door into a world that changes this from, hey, I'm just stopped for petty theft. You know what I'm saying? You're opening a door to something that is way more serious than that. You're opening the door to a room where there's a lot of different possibilities in that room that you don't need. You know what I'm saying? So it's always important to comply. This woman, I cannot erase the responsibility she had because she lost her life. I can't relate. I can't use that and say, well, forget about what she did. I can't say that. You know what I'm saying, Corey?
No, you can't. You can't because her actions put the officer in this position. What if she just got out the vehicle? Again, that's why we come up with the acronym CALM: comply, answer question, listen, and move on. Like you said, comply. Hey, it's over. All right, what do you want? Step out of car. Let me tell you why what we're doing here. I answer your questions. You answer my question. Hey, it's petty theft. You may get released on a summons. You may go down to booking, but you're gonna be out within a couple hours. But she was already in the mindset, like you said, from the very beginning to do it wrong. Because first two things, like we said in the opening, is you're driving a car without license plates, and two, you're parked in the handicap parking space for a easy getaway. So you already came with the criminal mindset when you drove into that parking lot. When you got in the car from wherever you were, you knew exactly what you were going to go do. And unfortunately, all those choices and decisions she made cost her life, and it didn't have to go that way. Had she just gave up and just realized that, hey, it's over, they got me. Hey, there's been times that I have done, and somebody, hey man, look, what do you need? It was $20. Okay, here, man, $20. You ain't got to steal it, right? Who knows what these officers would have done if she'd have just got out the car, and they seen she was pregnant, and probably would have helped her out. Hey, what we just paid for no harm, no foul. Lady, go home now. Don't come back. We don't know. We're what if in it now. We don't know what could have happened had she just complied. But this is where we are, and the lady lost her life. These kids now are going to grow up without the mother, and one unborn child has lost their life, didn't even get a chance to live because of the mother's decisions. Now, that might sound harsh, what we're saying, but she changed two families' lives, right? Her family and the officer's family. What say you, Mike?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I still say I put the weight, more of the weight on her because of the choices she made than I do the officer. Yeah, in my opinion, the officer was not reasonable by purposely standing in front of that car, but I understand what probably was in his mind because he didn't think she would run him over. Yeah, the gun came out because just in case she does accelerate, I'm going to be ready for it. Well, guess what? She accelerated, she hit him, and he shot her. He had to shoot her. You know what I'm saying? But people will argue, well, number one, he shot her for shoplifting. That's the way a citizen will look at it. You shot her for shoplifting. You shouldn't have stood in front of the car. That comment I agree with. You shouldn't have stood in front of the car. But he didn't shoot her for shoplifting. He shot her because she tried to run him over. Okay. I believe she would have run him over. People need to understand. She clearly would have run him over to get away. Period. She already hit him with the car. She was going to run him over. She did run him over. She ran him over to get away. Okay. You could make light of saying, well, she was only trying to get away from the officers. Yeah.
Because he had a gun.
The officer had a gun in your face when you was standing in front of her car. A normal person would not think to accelerate unless you were guilty. You were afraid that you were going to be arrested and you were trying to get away. That's what happened here. Okay. We'll see what happens when this goes to court.
Yeah, we'll have to definitely have to follow this story and keep everyone updated. Those of you who are Ohio viewers that are following this story back home in Ohio, hit us up over on Facebook. Let us know of any updates on it. And again, this happened just early last week. I think it was on the 24th of August in back in Ohio, just outside of Columbus. I think like 15 miles away from 15 miles outside of Columbus. And so, let us know of any updates and change. We'll keep everybody updated on it. May end up having to do a second one on it. So, but we're going to go ahead and bow tie this one up for tonight. I'd like to thank everybody for watching and tuning in to us tonight. Don't forget to head on over to the Brothas-in-law merch shop and get you a nice little t-shirt to help support us. Again, all our proceeds go to help us get on different platforms and spread the messages. Stand calm. This is why it's important to stay calm, you guys. Comply, answer questions, listen, and move on. These situations should not happen. Also, share this out with your family and friends, and let them know, hey, stay calm. Comply, answer questions, listen, and move on. All right, Mike, final words.
Yeah, complying is always important. You will always, your percentages of staying safe and staying alive really hangs a lot on complying. You know what I'm saying? There may be exceptions in the world where somebody is complying and something bad happens to them. Doesn't matter. That's the exception, not the rule. The rule is comply. I can't express that enough, and that's why that's the first letter in the acronym CALM is comply. You know what I'm saying? This lady should have been home. This lady should have been home with her kids with a ticket in her hand, having to go to court for petty theft. So what? Big deal. Okay. But instead, she lost her life. You guys have a safe weekend. Stay safe. And be cool.
Hey, Jesus love you. I meant to email you back. I couldn't open that video that you sent. Can you resend that video to me? And we'll let you know our thoughts on it. So again, thank you everyone for watching us. We'll be back next Thursday. Share this out. Don't forget to hit that like button for us. And if you're over on Facebook, hit the like button and the heart button for us. And we will see y'all next week. Until then, God bless you. We love you. Good night.